It's Wednesday the 11th of February, and out of the blue I've got a slot for this groundworks company to come and do the work for me. They've just turned up and it's really, really icy, so we've had to grit all the road by hand, which has been a nightmare all morning, and they've just turned up with this machine that makes my digger look pretty pathetic, frankly.
Within just an hour and a half, they got rid of the rest of the building. Put it in a huge pile and then began to mark out the trenches for the new foundations. By the end of the day, the house was gone and new trenches were dug for the foundations, and concrete was arriving at 8:30 in the morning. "8:30 the next day brought the first big challenge. How on earth we'd get a 30+ ton wagon full of concrete down the drive, which was a real challenge. It took nearly 30 minutes to get the first one down. The guys got to work pretty quickly and poured the concrete into the bucket of the digger. The digger then swung round and poured the concrete into the trenches. The guys then used a laser height finder that they'd set up on the site, which beeps to tell you what height the concrete should be at, so they knew that it was exactly the right height and level. At last, things were really happening.
It's February now, and the whole site is now at a standstill. We should have been putting block work up by now, but unfortunately the building inspector has closed down the site and is unhappy that our paperwork is not in order, and also the way the foundations have been laid. So I've got a meeting at 3:30 today to try and sort it out, but they're saying that because they're not happy with our paperwork, we have to resubmit it from scratch, and last time that took 6 months to be approved, and we won't be able to do any work until after that. So it's all turning into a nightmare.
I'm just back from the council, and they've said that the building warrant that we've got is no longer valid. This counteracts the advice we've been given by the national organisation, but unfortunately the council decide, and they're not regulated by anybody. Basically, they've said that we had a warrant that allowed us to work around the existing building that we've got, which there was a couple of walls of it left, and they weren't sound, so we've knocked them down to rebuild them again. But in knocking them down, that warrant on that building is now no longer valid because the building doesn't exist. So even though it's pretty much the same thing, and I spent £2,000 and waited 6 months for the warrant from them, they have cancelled that and said that it's now wasted. So we've had to resubmit for a new warrant, and it's illegal to start work without that. But they've said that we can start work while they look through the warrant, and we can hopefully move things forward a bit quicker. The other thing is that they're not happy about the foundations that we've got and put in place, particularly these steps here, which are throughout the whole thing. And underneath here was bedrock, solid rock, and the problem that we had was there was rock everywhere, and without digging out solid rock, because this is just built on a huge rock, then it would be very difficult for us to lay the foundation. So they're all stepped like this, but they were unhappy about these steps. They thought that there may not be enough clearance underneath them. In effect, what that means is that if the two steps are like that, they can't be like that, and that would leave a thin bit. They have to have an overlap like this, and they weren't sure that we had the right overlap, so we do. But anyway, we've got an engineer certificate, and they've now been signed off, so we can begin work at last, and hopefully we'll meet the next deadline.
The next day things continued at a pace again, and we started putting the block work up for the foundations. The building warrant was with the council, another 1,600 quid had been paid to them, but they were allowing us to continue. So things started to move, and I started to feel happier again.